Well, for a third straight day, Palestinians heading to an aid distribution site backed by the US and Israel have come under fire. Gaza's health ministry says at least 27 people were killed, dozens more injured. The Israeli military says its troops opened fire after identifying what it called suspects moving towards them. It says those individuals were, quote, deviating from the designated access routes. Well, Jasmine El-Gamal is a Middle East analyst who served as a Middle East advisor to the Pentagon and joins us now live from London. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Lynda.
So for 3 consecutive days, Palestinians have come under fire while trying to get aid. How would you describe the situation on the ground? Can it get any more dire than this?
The way I would describe the situation is tragically avoidable, Lynda, because from the very first moment that this humanitarian foundation was announced, every single humanitarian organization, every single UN agency, anyone who's ever had any experience working on humanitarian assistance operations said that this was going to be incredibly dangerous and incredibly irresponsible. And that's what makes this so tragic over the last 3 days, is that everybody knew that this was going to be the scenario. You basically had a mechanism that ignored previous existing UN mechanisms, tried to do something different, where instead of bringing humanitarian assistance to the people who need it the most where they are, they basically forced people, the most able-bodied, the most willing to take the risk, to walk for miles, be separated from their families in an active war zone to try to reach these distribution sites, people who haven't eaten, really. You remember that Israel has had this siege on Gaza since March 2nd now, where no food, water, fuel, medicine, anything has entered the strip. So you have these desperate, hungry, scared, confused people running to these distribution sites to get their hands on any food they can. What did they expect was going to happen? That's the question that people are asking as they look at these awful scenes that you're showing on your screen and describing right now.
Yeah, the UN, of course, calling the situation a war crime, describing this as a death trap, saying that, you know, this isn't working. But Israel continues to say that it is, and that it's the only way to prevent supplies from getting into the hands of Hamas. What do you say to that?
It's such it's such an insane argument to make. I'm sorry that I can't think of any other word for it, Lynda, because if you're saying that you want to stop Hamas from getting its hands on aid, is this really the way to do it? Say people go to these sites and get their boxes of aid, you know, this meager assistance that they're getting. Now they have to walk back to where they came from. They're going to be exposed on the road, not just to Hamas members, to looters, to gangs, to other people who maybe haven't gotten enough food. This is not a normal situation. This is not like standing in line at the supermarket to get your food. Again, these are people who have been starving for months, and they're trying to get their hands on anything they can to feed their families. And so what's happening here is that this humanitarian foundation has it's created some sort of twisted Hunger Games scenario where people are going out trying to get whatever they can because they are in absolute survival mode. So again, I just come back to what the UN and the humanitarian community has been saying since the beginning, that this was dangerous, this was irresponsible, this was going to cause harm, and that this was a way of bypassing the actual problem, Lynda, which is that Israel won't open the borders to let humanitarian assistance in through the existing mechanisms that have worked time and time again in conflict zones.
Yeah. Jasmine El-Gamal, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.